I can't remember, seems I forgot some actor to me who meant a lot. They were my future, they were my past, but my memory faded fast. Please forget my foolish name, those who remember.
And welcome back to the Special Features Podcast. My name is Maximilian, and this is my father, Walter. We are the Greatshells, the shells that are great.
That is us.
You may have watched the last episode of the podcast, although I doubt it. But it was our sort of post-Christmas Christmas special. And before that, we had our Halloween/Thanksgiving two-parter. So now we've entered the new year. I guess this is sort of our New Year's 2026 first episode podcast.
That's right.
Although technically the post-Christmas special came out on the first day of January.
Yes.
But this is the first one we're recording in the new year.
That's right. We are experiencing the new year.
So this is the post New Year's podcast.
Nice. Sounds good.
But there is no post.
No post. No.
Because it's a Sunday.
Oh.
Oh, wait. No, it's Saturday. Never mind.
Yes. All of this doesn't matter.
Anyway.
We're here now.
Regardless, today we are recording from my parents' house and living room, so there are no cats or dogs with us here today, which is a little sad.
Yes.
Wesley's at home, locked in a burning house. No, I'm just kidding. God, can you imagine? I've heard stories about that, about people's pets getting stuck in burning houses. It's tragic.
That's horrible.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even brought it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
I just smoked some pork chops.
Oh, okay.
As you know from the last 2 episodes, I'm an avid smoker.
I know.
I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes and things. I smoke meats.
Smoke meats.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like to smoke meats.
Yeah.
I like my meats.
There's a lot of discussion of smoking meats in this podcast.
Yeah.
Even though it's not really.
But it's something that's important to me.
Yes, and
isn't that what matters?
It is.
You're my father. Support me.
I like to eat smoked meats. So what am I going to say?
Yeah, and I made you bacon and salmon over the holidays.
You did, and we had some bacon for our delicious Christmas dinner. So that was good.
Smoked bacon. Bacon,
Yes.
Incidentally, is one of the hardest things to cut in my experience of living and cutting meat.
Really?
Well, just because it's pork belly, so it has big, thick layers of fat that are hard to cut through. Unless the pork belly is like very cold and you have a very long knife.
Yeah. Well, we have a pretty good knife for it, so it didn't really cause us any problems.
I also just realized that the table that the camera is set on is a little bit wibbly, and if I move my legs, it makes it wiggle.
Yeah, there may be some trembling of the camera.
Here, let me just aid it along.
It's an earthquake.
Captain, I can't keep her. I can't slow her down.
That's right.
Captain, something is wrong. Wow, I don't know what accent that turned into. Oh my God. Okay, so the tripod wasn't even seated correctly.
Yeah.
That's part of why it was shaking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, whoops. Let me just fix that so you can see more of my fat belly.
Yes, this is a very
whoa. Sorry.
Very nice.
So anyway, I'm wearing a shirt that I had for an elf costume for Halloween this past year.
Ah.
One of like Lord of the Rings type elves, not like Santa's elves. Although honestly, working as an elf in a mall would be pretty funny for me, since I'm 6.5 feet tall and like 300 pounds.
Yes.
Working as, people would be like, you'd be a better Santa. But that would be the joke,
Yeah.
Like me and Peter Dinklage go into a mall and he plays Santa and I play the elf.
You know what's weird is that when I was a kid and I used to see Santa with elves in malls, the elves were always very pretty girls.
Yeah.
You never saw there were never any male elves.
that was I think part of the selling point.
Well,
it
I'm
was
sure
like
it
it was like
was.
get the families to come over so because the kids want to talk to Santa,
Yeah.
and the dads want to see the pretty elf girl.
Right.
It's like all sort of a little bit perverse, like Alan Rickman in Love Actually when he's like buying that necklace for the woman he's cheating on with his wife.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That for the woman he's cheating on with his wife. It sort of worded that a sort of weird way, didn't I?
I think it came out
For the
all right.
woman.
Yeah,
He's
the
cheating
woman
on a woman.
The woman he's cheating with.
On his wife.
Yeah.
And his wife is played by oh my God.
Yeah. I know.
I should remember her name.
Yeah, I should.
I'm an evil monster that I don't.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Well, she's fabulous too. She's a fabulous actress.
She is. She's really good.
And she's very sympathetic in that role. Like you feel like you wish she was married to somebody who wasn't a dick.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Although he's sort of being also like coerced by this young
this
woman
kind
he
of
works with.
aggressive woman.
But
yeah.
if he really cared about his wife, he would know how to keep his distance.
Sure. It's just you get the impression he's maybe never been in that situation before. He's played by Alan Rickman. Did you say that?
Yeah, Alan Rickman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Professor Snape.
Yeah.
It's going to drive me crazy if I can't remember that actress's name.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, Love Actually, that's one of the movies we talked about watching over Christmas and never got around to. The only movie I feel like I actually end up watching every Christmas is the one, I think we've talked about it on this podcast before, the my brain is so fried. I'm trying to lose weight right now. I'm on a calorie deficit, so my brain is like dead. But the Christmas Carol, directed by
the one with Jim Carrey.
the Jim Carrey CG, the Robert Zemeckis Christmas Carol. Yes, thank you. And I end up watching that one every year, and I watched it this year thinking I would be bored, just because I've seen it so many times. But it still got me.
Yeah.
Gets me every time.
Yeah, we watched it too. I always enjoy that one. That's a good one.
Although I keep comparing the scene with the Ghost of Christmas Present with like the with want and avarice or whatever the children in his cloak are.
Yeah, right.
Not want and avarice. Ignorance and want.
Yeah.
To the cartoon, to the 70s animated one.
Yeah.
Because I think about the lines in both of those, and the animated one has more of the lines from the book than the CG one does. And they're said a little differently, and it kind of like throws me off every time.
Yeah.
Because in the cartoon version, he said, this one is ignorance, this one is want. Beware them both, but mostly beware the boy, or whatever. Or he says like, but for the most, beware the. But in the movie, the CG movie, he doesn't say that. He just says beware them both.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I guess that's fair, but you probably should fear. No, he says fear them both, but you know, first and foremost, fear the boy. And I guess that's true that you should fear ignorance more than want.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because people who are desperate are not inherently dangerous, right?
But people who are ignorant are, most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's not always true. There's like ignorant,
true.
nice people.
Yeah.
Like Luann was from King of the Hill was an ignorant, nice person.
Right.
She never, as far as I know, she didn't really do much to hurt anybody.
No, that's true. Yeah.
And also that guy from the pig farm calls her ignorant.
Right.
He's like, I don't think you're stupid. I think you're ignorant. And she's like, what? Why would you call me that? Right. And he's like, no, you don't understand. It's a compliment. That insane guy who ends up killing himself.
Yeah. That's a good episode of King of the Hill. Yeah, I think we're talking about things that I'm not sure our audience will have any idea what we're talking about. But
well, who cares?
Right. You're right. It doesn't matter.
Who's this podcast for? Yeah, it's for us and our 6 subscribers.
Yes. And they will understand.
They're gonna love it. And eventually, when I promote this podcast more and I cross promote it with other things, trust me, the internet is filled with like pseudo intellectuals, okay?
Sure.
Which who will eat stuff like this up. Okay. And I'm not saying we're pseudo intellectuals.
We're anti-intellectual. I don't know what
we're anti-intellectuals. Yeah. We're something.
We're sub-intellectuals.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call us intellectuals, but we're not We're somewhere in the middle. I don't know.
Semi-intellectuals, I don't know.
Semi-intellectuals. It almost sounds like a classification of primate.
Right. Well, that's a good...
This is semi-intellectual man.
Exactly.
But anyway, Christmas specials and whatnot aside, I think a lot of people had a rough year in 2025, and going into 2026, you know, people are cautiously hopeful again, I guess.
You think so?
I think some people are feeling very concerned, just because they feel like the last few years have been rather dark.
Yeah.
But I still see people who are hoping that things will improve this year.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all hoping. You know, we'll see. It's not getting off to a good start, but we'll see.
Why do you say that?
Well, we just basically invaded another country.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, present terrible news aside,
Yeah.
could be worse.
Could be worse.
You know, I mean, not everyone in the United States is homeless yet. Anyway, regardless, we're getting too dark.
Yes.
It's the new year. I was trying to start on a positive note. You led me down a dark road. I was like, people are cautiously optimistic. You're like, are they?
Yeah.
Things are horrible. People are going to die.
Well, I think in order to look for the bright side, we just have to do our usual thing, and we have to look at the things that keep us sane.
Yes,
and,
like my
you know,
smoked pork chops,
Like your pork chops, exactly.
which
you
I will
know.
be eating as a breakfast food.
Yes, very nice.
And they are delicious.
Pork chops and eggs. I like that.
The thing about smoked pork chops is you can't really cook them like other cured meats, because I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna go off on the smoked pork chops. I just want to eat them.
Nice.
And Wesley wanted to eat them too. At one point, I had him outside with the raw ones, and I was terrified he was going to grab one and run away with it. But he instead spent the time occupying himself with a sock.
Well, he's a good dog. I'm sure that...
He's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because honestly, it took me a while to be won over by him, because he was very intense.
Yeah.
Like, he was very... Like, he kept us up many nights when I first moved in with Gwen, and he was like, he's you know, he jumps on people. He's very, like, all energetic.
Yeah.
But
your mother gets scared of him because she's afraid he's going to break her knee or something.
Well, in recent history, I found that he's a little calmer if I like.
And he almost killed me the other day. He
Well,
jumped
yeah, but he
on
didn't do it on purpose.
No, it's true.
He's just heavy, and sometimes he jumps up.
Yeah,
unexpectedly.
He leaped with the full weight. This is a big dog, and he leaped
Yeah.
with the full weight of his body and landed with his paws in the center of my chest. And I thought he had like stopped my heart. It was a bit shocking, but I'm fine.
Well, there's not much we can do about it at this point. Gwen has had Wesley for long before I ever had him, and when she was given him, it was like an unexpected gift. And at the time, she didn't have time to like train him properly and stuff. And since then, I've been trying to train him, but it's difficult. He seems a little special needs. It takes him a long time to like learn any new rules.
Yep.
Also,
but I love the way he is.
I'm just saying, I've also been trying to give him like more physical affection, you know, like sit on the couch with him more, pet him more, ruffle him more, like go outside with him more and stuff.
That's good.
And that's helped,
Yeah.
because it gets his energy down a bit. But
he's a good boy.
No matter like what he does, that's like frustrating though. I just like because he's a Bernese Mountain Dog, he has those goofy little eyebrows.
Yes.
So if you just like look at him, his face just looks like he's apologizing for something he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how to explain it.
No, he's very expressive.
He's just like,
right. Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so can't stop loving him. And also, all people and all animals will occasionally do things that annoy others.
Of course.
Like, you know, I do things that annoy people, obviously. You know, friggin', we have 2 cats as well. One of them sits on our faces.
No, the animals are wonderful. I have no objection to any of your pets. They're great. They're good. They're good creatures.
Do you have objections to me?
Yes, I do. No, of course not. You're my son.
I've been recently seeing, to switch topics here, switch gears to, because primarily we started this as a movie podcast, although I feel like we talk about a lot of things, and there's, you know.
Yeah, it's wide ranging.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I've recently been seeing ads for a new Marvel show called like Power Man or something.
Oh yeah, Wonder Man, isn't it?
Wonder Man,
Yeah.
is that what it is?
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
just it's so funny to me because like it's never gonna stop, like with the comic book characters, because it's like there's just an unending list, and that grows every day of existing comic book characters.
Yeah.
So every now and again you're gonna get something popping up where it's like, I've never heard of Beelzeburglar. Like there's a new show about this character that apparently everyone else has known about for years that I've never heard of.
But it seems like from the trailer that I saw that this Wonder Man movie is not really so much about a superhero as it's just about an actor who...
Is it a movie or is it a show?
Oh, maybe it's a show.
Might be a show.
Yeah, I think it is a show.
But yeah, it's about a struggling actor who secretly has superpowers and has to hide it so he can play a superhero.
Yeah.
I get that. And I think that's awesome. Why do we still need the underlying element of he has superpowers?
Well, absolutely you don't. I mean...
Can't it just be about a struggling actor keeping a secret? I mean, like, look at like Barry.
Yeah.
Barry was a great show, and that had nothing to do with, you know what I mean?
You're
like,
right. Yeah, the actual superpowers in a weird way kind of makes me less interested.
It makes it less interesting, yeah.
But maybe it'll be good. I mean, I like Ben Kingsley a
Yeah.
lot,
Well, I also like the guy who's the main actor in it.
Yeah.
And, I always am in support of like, in the acting community of having like as many different kinds of people acting as possible. And this
Sure.
is obviously another case of like a previously white character being played by a black guy, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as it's an interesting role,
Sure.
it doesn't matter. And I think that's what a lot of people have been hungry for ever since like, ever since like the Black Panther franchise has kind of faded.
Yeah.
I think because they really liked the performances from the actors in those movies.
Uh-huh.
And they've been looking for like more along those lines.
Right.
You know what I mean? More like strong, interesting black characters.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, like, as you know, Disney, as far as like diversity goes, just is trying out everything they can think of.
Right. It's funny because speaking of Black Panther, I was just watching a little YouTube video that was made by a Korean guy, and he was talking about how in the Black Panther movie, there's a scene where they're in like this Korean casino.
Yeah.
It's like underneath a fish market or
Yeah.
something like that. And he was saying that apparently in Korea, people are kind of obsessed with that scene because it takes place in Korea, but in particular because there's this old woman who's like one of the fish sellers, and she's kind of the guardian of the gate, the guardian of the doorway to this casino.
Okay.
And she is very argumentative in Korean. And apparently she argues with the one of Black Panther's entourage, this woman agent, from, this black woman. And the two of them argue in Korean, essentially, the black woman and the Korean woman.
Yeah.
And apparently the Korean woman, to Koreans, she's meant to sound very like one of those fish selling women, like very coarse and kind of, I don't know.
And they feel like that works well.
Well, they feel like that works well, but they feel like what's funny about it is that they feel like she didn't quite get the language right. Like the language they wrote for her apparently is not exactly right for the character that she's playing. And they say, oddly enough, the black woman who's talking to her is actually nails the Korean better than the Korean woman.
Weird.
Yeah, it's all very strange.
But I mean, that is so niche.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, though, Korea has become a big part of like the worldwide entertainment industry at this point.
Sure.
So their niche ideas about like what relates to their culture are important too.
Absolutely. And if as an American, if we're watching,
I feel like I don't want people to think I'm saying that condescendingly. I feel like
No,
they're
I don't.
little ideas. Like I legitimately love, Korean culture and art and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, but,
food.
But I always think, if we watch something and there's a character who's supposed to be from, a good example is Fargo, and they're using that accent from Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a difference between an ability to do an accent and an ability to speak a language.
Yeah.
It's like just because somebody is, so if that's the case, then it sounds to me like the issue was really they should have either chosen a Korean woman who was better at that particular accent, or they should have chosen a Korean woman who actually did that, I guess,
Yeah.
as a job. I don't know.
Well, I don't think that they're even suggesting that she doesn't do a good job. I think they're just saying there's like a weird nuance that
And
if you
that the other woman was better at
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that makes sense.
but
There's always feedback for like
yeah. Well, it's like
cultural and accent, and like, I mean, I remember when Mickey Rourke was in like Iron Man doing a Russian accent, and people said his Russian accent was terrible. Like, it's like, at the end of the day, does it matter?
No. Well, and again, going back to Fargo, I remember that when Fargo came out, people were, they got, obviously the people in the movie got tremendous kudos for doing that Minnesota accent. And
People in Minnesota were pissed.
well, not pissed, but somebody said, it's fun, but it's not truly
not
accurate.
real.
It's exaggerated.
It's not really what we sound like there, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Most people I've met from that area, it's a lot subtler.
Yeah.
In Fargo, they play it up, but they play it up intentionally because they think it's fun.
Absolutely.
And it adds to the local color and the character of the movie.
Yeah, it creates this sort of cartoonishness that, like you said,
Yeah.
it's fun.
So I think that's okay, especially when
yeah.
you're just playing with something like a regional accent.
Yeah.
I think obviously there's, you can't do that with like, people's cultures and stuff. Like, you can't be like, you know what I mean? You can't have like comical, I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I'm saying you can't have like comical, like, racial stereotypes. But there are cases where you can. I think you have to be part of that culture if you do those stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to do like some kind of inner city black people thing, it's better if if the one creating the art is a black person.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that's always the way it goes down, unfortunately, but like, there are cases where the wrong people do like create things that are supposed to be comical stereotypes, and it sort of goes horribly awry, in my opinion.
Well, or even people who are just trying to create accurate, dialects, but they're not good at it.
Yeah, and it gets
so
screwed
it
up.
comes out like seeming.
Well, I'm thinking like Tarantino doing an Australian accent in Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Which is not the same thing, because obviously Australian, like the kind of Australian he was playing was like a white person Australian, but like he still did it really badly.
Yeah, although I feel like that.
Which, by the way, I'm not. Like, the only thing I'm ever talking about is Tarantino is obviously, and he's been made fun of a lot for his acting skills. He's a great director, but not the best actor.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's kind of what it boils down to, is that, he's just appearing in his movies and not really.
But if you want an example of like weird racial caricatures, I look at a lot of like the older stuff for like Adam Sandler. You know what I mean? Or honestly, not even older, like some newer stuff. Like Rob Schneider in a lot of Adam Sandler's movies has played like these weird kind of racist seeming characters.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
I actually haven't seen any of this. So
Well,
I
he
have
has.
no idea. Okay.
He has many times.
Huh.
And that kind of stuff is where it gets into territory where it's like, I don't know if this is okay, like,
Yeah.
because he's doing it very comically, to the point where a lot of the characters Rob Schneider's plays in those movies comes off as like a complete doofus.
Okay.
And then it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then it's like, it's this person playing a Mexican who's also an idiot.
Okay.
Like, it feels very off.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, because I generally don't care for, when you see a thing like that where there's some kind of a lazy comic portrayal
Yeah.
of,
But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, there's a time and place for everything, I guess, is ultimately just what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But I do know that Disney, I do feel like, has been looking for their next, like, and I don't know if they found him, but I feel like I could be out of the loop here, but like, I feel like they have been looking for like their next really charismatic leading black man character. You know what I mean? Ever since
Black Panther.
yeah, ever since that actor passed.
Yeah.
Which I feel like an asshole that I also can't remember his name in the moment. But
Yeah,
he was.
I can't think of it
He,
either at the
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he was an important actor for them, and
Yeah.
also a humanitarian. He was well liked by a lot of people. So it's like, I feel like they're looking for that sweet spot again.
Yeah.
And the problem with Disney is I feel like they don't understand, like, at the end of the day that things really ultimately have to be good. They just are trying to. They're looking for like some kind of like perfect social sweet spot with their work, but they're not also remembering that stuff also has to be good.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just, talking about interesting black actors. I was just watching a clip from one of the new Mission Impossible movies. It's one of the ones I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where Tom Cruise somehow gets on board a nuclear submarine. Like his character is being transported by a nuclear submarine. And I don't know how, because I didn't see the whole thing, the whole clip, but I saw he suddenly appears on this submarine and he gets confronted by the captain. And the captain of the sub is played by the actor he's the black guy in that TV show. Oh my God. That TV show about the people who are in the underground office complex and they can't remember what their lives on the...
Oh, yeah. Severance.
Severance. Yeah, the black guy from Severance.
Yeah.
Anyway, he plays...
Yeah, the guy that plays... This is almost goofy how much we're not able to remember right now.
Yeah.
The oh my God, it's not Meacham.
It doesn't matter.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's one of the best guys on the show.
Yeah.
He's great.
Anyway, he's really great in this Mission Impossible scene too, because he's astonished.
Milchek.
Yeah, right. He's astonished to find Tom Cruise on his submarine.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" You know, that kind of thing. You know?
Well, because he's now been like sort of pigeonholed as like this kind of scary, stern, sexy guy.
Yeah, but he's also got a wonderful sense of, I don't know what it is, like just being astonished.
Yeah.
You know, it's a funny scene.
What the hell are you doing
here? Yeah. and he's like, and Tom Cruise is like, I'm on a mission or something like that, and he says, "What would you have done if I hadn't been here? If we hadn't been here at this moment, And Tom Cruise is like, I wasn't thinking that far ahead or something like that.
Well, that sounds like a fun scene.
Yeah.
I remember when you said nuclear submarine, I remember there was like a scene in one of the Mission Impossible movies. I could be wrong. I could be mistaking this with another movie, but where like I think there is where Tom Cruise has to like hold his water. He has to hold his water while he's acting. He's not allowed to go pee. No, where he has to hold his breath for like 5 minutes in the movie. Like not in real life. Not like, you know what I mean? But like in the movie, the thing he does would require him to like hold his breath for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I remember people like trying to do that, like to hold their breath as long as the scene was.
Right.
And just like failing every single time.
Yeah, I would not even want to try that.
But yeah, that's actually a good point. I haven't thought about Severance in a while. I was sort of mildly disappointed by the second season, so I feel like I haven't really been paying attention to when the next season may or may not come out.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the show's been renewed, but it probably has been. It's popular enough.
Yeah, I have no idea. I kind of stopped watching it after a certain point. I liked the beginning of it.
You gave up.
Yeah, I dropped it like a hot potato.
I feel like the only show you actually like stay up to date with is the Great British Baking Show.
Yeah, we do tend to watch that.
Which is a fun show.
The thing is, your mother and I, when we're having meals, we like to watch food shows.
Yeah.
And so that's just...
Is that why the other day you were watching Beat Bobby Flay?
Yeah. Well, because it's fun if you're eating to watch
I still think that's such a weird egomaniacal show concept.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like you're a celebrity chef and your show concept is come on and try to cook better than me on my show.
Yeah.
It's like it feels very Bobby Flay, I'll say that. But it's like I don't think like that's something that Gordon Ramsay would ever do.
No.
You know what I mean? Cuz it's like it's stupid. Why would he do that?
Yeah.
It's like come beat Gordon.
Right.
It's like no, I don't think Gordon Ramsay wants people to beat him at cooking.
No, I'm sure he doesn't. But it's funny because I remember years ago when Bobby Flay when we first would see him on the Food Network, he was always in these competitions where he would lose. He lost. He was the loser chef for like years, I remember like
that's because he's a good chef, but he's just not as good as like the best chefs.
Well, right, and I always think that, but I always also think that that was kind of a deliberate apprenticeship. That he kind of was climbing the ladder at Food Network, and the way he had to do that was by
you're
starting
saying
at the bottom.
they like forcibly put him in the loser position,
Yeah, exactly,
so that he could like intern
right
until he was allowed to be like one of the real Food Network people.
Yeah, and he had to take it with good grace, and he did.
Yeah,
and not quit, you know. And
I think that is one thing I'll say about Bobby Flay is that he rarely complains about anything.
Yeah, I don't think he's
a good loser.
And he's basically, I think, at the top of the pyramid on that network now. And so
I just feel like with that Beat Bobby Flay show, it feels rigged to me. It feels like it's like sometimes he does lose, but it's not very often, and it's usually only if the other person cooking is like truly exceptional in some way.
Right.
So the show is not really Beat Bobby Flay. It's like you have to blow Bobby Flay out of the water so hard that it's impossible for them to deny you a win.
Yes.
That's what it is.
It really is. Yes.
Because otherwise he'll do some shit that will like the judges will judge as better.
Well,
like it'll be like, oh well, did you candy the salmon? Right. I candied the salmon.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh really? That's the factor?
Well, also I think that the whole thing is a bit sketchy just because the judges are people who run restaurants. And do they really want to piss off somebody powerful on Food Network?
No, like a restaurant executive / chef.
Right, exactly.
No, I don't think they do.
And I've always wondered in the past because Bobby Flay has these certain little signature moves, like he likes to do these onions that are pickled in like grenadine, so they're pink. And I always think, so he's putting these on there so the judges know which is his dish because it has the little pink onions on it.
It's a marker.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also super weird though, because like, why wouldn't you just pickle red onions?
Yeah, well, I guess he likes the flavor.
Because if you quick pickle red onions, they change color too because of the pigment in the onions.
Sure.
So it's like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter at all. But I'm still a little bit worried about this camera shaking because I can see it still.
I think you worry
whenever
about
I move my legs, it shakes a little.
You know what? You need to not worry about the technical stuff because in past podcasts we talk a lot about the technical things and nobody cares. It's not noticeable.
It's noticeable to me.
I'm just saying it's not.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just kidding. But it's interesting. I do see a lot of those celebrity chefs still all over the place. I see I know there's this one guy who's been on Chopped a few times who I have no idea how to describe him because his ethnicity is like it's very unclear to me. I'm sure he's talked about it, but he's ambiguous looking. You know what I mean? Like he could be Indian. I think he might be part Indian. Okay. I'm not entirely sure. But I've been seeing this ad for like one of those like meal prep services that sends you pre-made meals.
Yeah.
That he's been doing where it's like he shows that he's like this is my fried chicken. It's delicious and crispy and it takes 4 to 6 hours to make, but you don't have to take 4 to 6 hours to make it because it's in one of these pre-prepared meals. And I'm like, like that feels like a weird way for a chef to sell out to me.
Yeah.
Because pre-prepared food, and this is something I've always felt, because like Gordon Ramsay also has like pre-prepared food on sale in supermarkets.
Okay.
But like, first of all, that ad is just a little weird to me because I don't actually know how many people know who that guy is.
I have no idea who you mean.
He's just one of the judges. He's been one of the judges on Chopped. He's probably got other credits to his name.
Okay.
Anyway, regardless, it doesn't matter. The point is, I've always thought pre-prepared food lines from chefs are weird because it's like, I get it, you're making money. I get it, you're putting your name out there. Ideally, you're putting out there a product that will be good to some extent. However, most of the time, pre-prepared foods or frozen foods, they lose something in the process. The food is only really good once it's like fresh, right?
Okay.
So it's like if you're a chef, if you're a famous chef, if you're famous for being one of the best chefs in the world, why would you want your name on like a frozen dinner?
Yeah, I guess. Unless, of course, it's genuinely good, which I sometimes
But
watch.
even if it is genuinely good, it's still not going to be as good as if they like that chef cooked it for you.
Well, that's true.
And there's going to be like ignorant people out there who like buy this meal and they're like, this doesn't taste up to the standard of Gordon Ramsay.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It just feels weird to me.
Yeah, it is weird. The whole thing is weird. I mean, obviously, it's better to just have food that's prepared on the spot, But
Here's, I guess, my ultimate thing about it is that if you're a chef, like the purest form of being a chef should be presenting people with your food in person.
sure.
And if you go to a point where you're like where your brand has become so big that you have like a ton of restaurants that are mostly disconnected from you, where you have a ton of food in supermarkets that's mostly disconnected from you, it sort of waters down what the purest form of your art is.
It does, but it's money. You know what I mean?
I know, but I hate
ultimately
that.
it.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that we've come. That just goes back to the corporate culture. It's like everything's down to money. Nobody cares about like the quality, the experience, the stuff that matters about being human.
Well, I think they would rationalize it by saying, this is a way for people to try the food who have no access to it, who are like, live thousands of miles away. They can still try the food.
I know. I guess my point really is that I don't know if everyone was meant to try everything.
No, I agree.
And I don't know if like everything was meant to become like such a global phenomena. It's like everything in our culture now is focused on like, I want this to become the biggest thing in the world. And it's like, can't people's goals still just be like, I want to make this as well as I can right here, right now, and that's all I want to do.
Well, I was, yeah. I mean, I was
And I want to be able to make my life out of that.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking just in terms of music, how kind of tragic it is to me. Just the other day I was talking about this, how kind of tragic it is to me that like we used to live in a world, and I'm talking about hundreds of years ago, when every little, cafe and pub had to have a live musician.
Yeah.
If they wanted music, they had to have a live musician.
Like a bard.
Yeah, because there was no, you didn't have electronic music, you didn't have recorded music, and you didn't have radio. But now in our modern world, it's put all of because there must have been millions of musicians back then.
Yeah.
Just millions and I mean every family could have a musician who could conceivably find a little bit of work. But now you can't have that because everybody just plays the recorded music,
And the only way for you to like make a living and make your life out of music is if you're successful enough to make money from like the stream, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's a lot of art has been taken from you could make a life out of it and turned into if you're not moderately or very successful, the likelihood that you can make your life out of this is very low.
Exactly. I mean, you can't just be the woman who sings songs in the local restaurant for your whole life. You can't do that as a career because that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there might, if you live in a city like New York,
there
or
are
Paris,
like live performance opportunities, but I think they're much less than they used to be.
Right, exactly.
And the same goes for as I assume you're leading to for a lot of different art forms.
Yeah.
There
Well,
used
for
to be-
everything really, and
Yeah.
for food, like we were just saying with food, it's like there used to be a need for their people to make food that was edible in every single restaurant and every home. And
Yeah.
now it's like you can buy this stuff that comes packaged and nobody has to really know how to cook.
Although there definitely have been art forms where there was a specific golden age for them. Like I feel like, if we talk about like your art form, writing,
Yeah.
is like, I don't think there was a time where there was more work for writers. I think the golden age for writers was like a period in time where if you were committed enough to become a decent writer, you could get published and you could get notoriety from that.
Right.
And that time is now passing into a different time.
Yeah.
But the time before that, I don't think necessarily was much better.
No, I agree. There was only a brief window, and I would say maybe from like, maybe a couple of hundred years, from the 18th century through to the 1970s, when you had like millions of books being published and a very literate population.
Yeah.
And, magazines.
Yeah, back
and,
when like writers were the form of were the entertainment industry.
Right, exactly.
Back like before TV, before radio, like when people were like, all the way up through like maybe the 70s or 80s. Like when writing was highly paid attention to.
Right. Now, I was just reading about, I was thinking about Don Quixote and how the character of Don Quixote, it's interesting because that book was written in the 1500s, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's referring to this character, Don Quixote, who's obsessed with these kind of pulp like novels of chivalry.
Yeah.
These little, but which were apparently hugely popular in Spain and maybe other parts of Europe in like, from around the 1400s, 1500s.
Yeah.
And there was apparently
Which
hundreds.
leads him to insane flights of fancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It leads him to become this crazy, desire to be this swashbuckling knight. And I think that's interesting that it kind of the little window of the reading culture of that time that gives us.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have thought there was like a huge reading culture in like the 1500s.
Well, that's a beautiful thing about being widely read, though, too, is that it really gives you a closer idea of not only what was popular, but also like the way people were thinking at a certain time at any given time. So if you read literature from like a broad spectrum of periods of time, you sort of get a little picture of that society in that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm thinking about like the Three Musketeers, or honestly even like Dickens's work. Like a lot of that work was like serialized.
Yeah.
So like, we're thinking like people are reading these books that have become classics in these like chapter-sized chunks.
Right.
In like magazines, essentially.
Right, and those are like the early superstars because,
Yeah.
when Dickens came to America on a trip, like promoting his work, he was already a star in America, and he drew these huge crowds to see him do readings of his work. And I always think that must be he was like the Beatles of his day.
Must have been glorious.
Yeah.
I know. And as an artist, there's definitely this feeling of like, if only I could go back to the time when these things were happening, because I feel like I would have a much easier time. But the hilarious thing about that is maybe, but also maybe not.
Yeah.
So like, because even because art has never been easy.
No.
So I feel like even if we did go back to a time where it was like our ideal perfect time for that art form, we still might end up out of bad luck, like screwed in some way.
Sure, absolutely.
I could say like I want to go back to like, the time when like before the internet, when comedy was at its peak of like people wanting to go see live comedy, which I don't know when the hell that would be. Maybe like Carlin. Would that be a good time? Like
I
the
guess.
70s?
Yeah, probably.
I could say I want to go back there because then I can just perform in clubs and hope that I get seen by the right agents or whatever, because that was more of the way to do it back then. But who knows? There were still a lot of comedians back then, so
Yeah.
I still might have been like just drowned under, even if I was really good, under like all that pressure, and also like all the not knowing who to like shake the right hands with and things like that. Who knows?
Yeah. No, it's true. It was never easy. And in fact, you just made me think about poetry and poets. And I was thinking, there was a golden age for poetry, but then I was thinking that in Cyrano, in the play Cyrano de Bergerac, the character of Cyrano is a poet, and he hangs around with poets. And these poets all go to this bakery. And the reason they go there is because the guy who runs the bakery allows them to pay for their purchases with poems, because he knows they're poor. And so when they write a poem, they go there and they give it to him, and he gives them like some cookies or something like that. And Cyrano does this in the play. He gives them like some poems, and he gets some what are those coconut cookies called?
Macaroons?
Macaroons. He gets some macaroons for one of his poems. And I was thinking, it's kind of a wonderful idea, that if you're a poet, you can go and get some baked goods for your poetry. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a sad idea, because it's like, it means these guys can't really make a living, even back then when people were reading poetry.
Not to mention the fact that in some ways it's kind of theft. It's like, instead of me giving you credit or what your poems are really worth, I'll just give you some cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like back in the like in terms of like, I don't know, kind of the music industry for a long time. But if you want like a specific example, like Motown, or like any period where like you get these influxes of young artists who basically sign away the rights to their music for like a silver dollar.
Sure.
Like it's like, what I mean? Artists have always been screwed over for their work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, wasn't there's that Coen Brothers movie about the folk singer guy, Llewyn Davis.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah, and there's that scene where he goes and he goes to his agent because he needs some money, and his agent won't give him any money, but he gives him his jacket, because he says, I need a winter coat. And so he's like, oh, you need a coat? I got a coat
Here's
right
a jacket,
here.
yeah. No, I know. Well, that's actually something interesting. I told you the guy that wrote John Dies at the End has like an active social media presence. And he was talking about the Coen Brothers movies, and he made a good point, which is that the Coen Brothers, there's not a lot of focus in our culture on like showcasing like the true nature of life and like showcasing like failure, but how life continues to go on even if you do fail. But the Coen Brothers seem to always be showcasing that in their movies.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they always show like how life is not always what you want it to be, but that doesn't mean, you know, it's the end of the world.
Right, right.
And he feels like that's good for society to see that.
Yeah.
Because it's like we have a lot of focus in our culture on like making it big and
Right,
being
and
crazy
being
successful.
success, yep.
But in reality, most people's lives are not like that. Most people's lives are just quietly plodding along no matter what you do. And as a result, that needs to be what we see more in the culture.
Yeah. Well, that actually, you know, you're making me think of one of my favorite movies, which is Patterson.
Yeah.
You know, that Jim Jarmusch movie about the guy who's trying to be a poet, but he's never going to be a successful poet.
He's not going to make a living off of poetry.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he loves poetry and he likes to write it, and it doesn't seem to really affect him that he's not going to be making $1 million. Yeah. He's a bus driver.
His life actually, and this is what's so funny to me is like, and this is the problem I've always had with being an artist, because I talk to so many people. There are genuinely people out there that do the arts that genuinely love it and don't care if they're successful, but there's also a lot of people who are trying to be successful. And that's always where I've fallen short, because I've never cared about that kind of success. Like the life the guy has in Patterson, that seems like absolute bliss to me.
I agree. It looks beautiful.
Like, you know, a bus driver and a poet, and you can afford to like have a little home with your wife, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just want a very, I think a lot of people do feel this way, that they want like a simple life. But like, that's maybe, that's why I've always felt like, you know, there's different kinds of artists. You know, there's artists that really, they make their lives about like making it. And then there's artists who like are content to kind of just be artists.
Yeah.
And just sort of live their lives.
But that's always been the problem that I've had, is that I think that I had a vision in my head from an early age of what constitutes a successful writer.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, what that meant was you have a really beautiful little home, maybe with like a window overlooking the sea, and, you know, and you have your little writing space, you know, with your desk and all of this stuff. And, you know, I never really managed to get to any of that.
See, that's,
you know?
that's first of all, you did sort of.
Well, to some degree.
I mean,
I
we
got
do
published.
live pretty close to the water here. But second of all, that is sort of the like, if you look at like somebody like Bukowski, that's the life he had by the time he was like 75.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You know what I mean? He didn't own a house until he was like 75. That book Hollywood, he talks about it.
Yeah.
First house he ever bought was when he was like 75 or maybe 65. But like, my point is, I don't think, unless you're like one of like the 5 writers in history who have been wildly successful, I don't think, you know, you most people get to live that kind of like dream life.
No, you're right. It's a fantasy, but I think it was just something that I thought was the life of a writer.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously turned out kind of hard to get to.
Well, see, in my brain, I've had a similar fantasy in the past, whereas like in a lot of movies and things, I've seen a lot of characters in these big, beautiful, clean, kind of shiny, like glass walled apartments and like skyscrapers overlooking big cityscapes.
Right.
I've thought to myself many times, like, if I ever make it in the arts, that's what I'm gonna do. Right. I'm gonna go live in a fucking multi-million-dollar condo with mirrored walls. Right. You know, but like, realistically speaking, first of all, why would I do that?
Yeah, right.
but second of all, like, I don't care about that.
Right.
Like, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because in a way that would be kind of cold and distant.
No, of course. And in fact, here's the thing: if I had ever been as successful as I dreamed of being, and I had like fans,
yeah,
you know, and like reading clubs were to discuss my work and have me come and give talks and all this kind of thing, I probably would have, you know, I would have not liked that, because I don't really want to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to be able to just basically have a reason to always write because I'm getting paid, you know.
Well, honestly, the only real ways to be successful anyway are to either be wildly lucky or to have some form of like nepotism, which is not necessarily to say you're the child of someone who's like rich or successful, or just anybody with any opportunity level.
Yeah.
Or like anybody who, if you have a chance to like become friends with rich people, or like, you know, if you get some good financial opportunities that boost you up in the world. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's always just sort of like the only way you become successful is just, you don't know how it happens.
Right.
You just got to do what you want to do and try to like be a good person and try to like, you know, work in the direction that sparks joy.
Yeah.
To quote that lady who, you know, teaches, the Japanese lady that like teaches people to clean their houses.
Right.
Like, you just got to do that, and you may get lucky and you may not. And who's to say that if you get lucky in that way, that means anything?
No, of course not. It's all completely arbitrary, and none of it means anything. The main thing is just that you enjoy your day-to-day life.
I'm just saying, life is
much as you
choices
can.
and consequences.
Yeah.
And the fact is, you never know what consequence is going to lead to what, or what's going to make you happy or unhappy.
No, it's true.
So it's like, I heard something interesting the other day that I also thought was valid for life. Is like, we've put so much focus on trying to find happiness in our life rather than putting focus on trying to eliminate unhappiness or suffering from our lives and from the world. And a good way to model your life is, instead of trying to seek happiness, which is fleeting and doesn't necessarily mean anything, you should spend your life trying to limit, you know, suffering and unhappiness in yourself and in everyone around you. And that automatically will make you feel more fulfilled and make you more happy overall.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, if you're doing things in your life that you feel are meaningful in some way, you know, then you're kind of following that path.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's what I'm saying. I think
yeah.
that's, you know, that's what you just got to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just got to be okay with being, and you got to be okay with, you know, whatever the hell happens, and you got to not create these scenarios in your head that may or may not be impossible.
Right.
And ultimately, because I think a lot of the people that create those scenarios, you know, where they imagine how their life will be once they've like achieved whatever they're trying to achieve, once they get there, they feel empty.
Yeah.
Or unhappy in some way, because they're like, now what do I do?
Right.
It's like, life can't be about that one major goal. It has to be about more than that.
Yeah.
It has to be about like your whole life that you're trying to surround yourself with.
No, and that's absolutely true, because I know that the times in my life where I feel like I've made some huge milestone, you know, achieved some tremendous breakthrough, the joy of that lasts literally, you know, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of over it, and now you have to try to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
Not to mention, more often than not, there's like a ton of unpleasant details that come along with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, I've thought about like, what would happen if I became a working comic, if I got like a, you know, like an agent and I started traveling around for comedy. It's like, part of that would be a success, but another part of that would be like, I'd be away from my family more.
Exactly.
I'd be like, there'd be a lot of loneliness that would go with that. Right. So it's like, is it worth the trade-off? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I don't think that it is. I mean, like, a really good illustration of what you're talking about is, I have this two-volume set of Jack Kerouac's selected letters, and they've always been very interesting. And especially when I felt like very low in my writing career, I would read the Jack Kerouac volumes of his letters, and just kind of, it would remind me of just how difficult it is to be a writer and an artist.
Oh, Kerouac is a good example, because his life sucked.
Yeah, exactly. But the first volume is basically everything leading up to him publishing On the Road, which was his big success when he was like 35. And On the Road was the high point in his life. And so that book ends, that first volume of letters ends with this achievement of all of his dreams coming true, basically. And then the second volume is the long downhill to his horrible death.
Yeah, and then Big Sur.
Yeah. Exactly. And so the second volume is a bummer. But together they really illustrate the arc, literally the arc of the artist's life, you know, especially the successful artist.
And even the book On the Road is like, in its own way, kind of depressing, because it's like, I remember the beginning of Big Sur has like this little opening where it's like, you know, like when On the Road was published, like all these young people are reading it thinking of Jack Kerouac as like this young adventuring guy, but in reality he's like this depressed alcoholic who's like
Right.
middle-aged, wandering around not knowing what to do with himself.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
and it's like, you know, so even when he was reaching to like the epitome of his career, I don't think he was happy.
No, but I think that he, like all of us, I think he had this dream of achieving success,
Yeah.
and it sort of happened, you know. But
Yeah.
but it was not. It did not last.
I
a
know,
long
but
time.
that's another problem. If you're somebody who suffers with substance abuse problems or mental health, as Jack Kerouac obviously did,
Oh, he sure did. Yeah.
making one main thing your goal is a good way to say basically, if I succeed, I'm going to kill myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that happens to a lot of people. I think a lot of people who are even like young people who suddenly get very successful, who have issues.
Yep.
That success allows them too much access to like too much dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it puts them in a place where it's like, oh, I've achieved my goal. What the hell do I do now?
Right.
I might as well just like, it depresses them.
Yeah.
And it pushes them into the worst state of their depression.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that can precipitate a person's, you know, doom.
And that's what I'm saying. You can't build up a pedestal like that, a goal like that, with nothing to support it.
Right.
You need a lot down there to support it. You need like other life, other goals, other hobbies. You need a family. You need people who care about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need a foundation, because if you just build a goal on nothing, it's going to collapse once you achieve that goal.
Right.
Or if you don't ever achieve that goal, it'll kill you too.
Yeah.
You need more than that.
Yeah.
You can't just live your life based on one aspiration.
No, absolutely. And when you're younger, I think it's harder to understand that because you're working so hard, you know, to especially if you're trying to do something difficult.
Yeah.
You're devoting all of your time and energy to do this difficult task. And so there's not a lot of room in your life to find the small joys and pleasures, you know, so you're deferring all of that. And, you know, then maybe by
You put it off and put it off, and then if you're successful, you have nothing. And if you're unsuccessful, you have nothing to fall back on.
right.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But I get it. You know, I get it. Life is life, you know.
Yeah.
Different people live life in different ways with different goals, and there's no wrong way to do things.
No.
So if you do want, like, if that is the way your life goes, it sucks, but it's like, that's just another way somebody's living life.
Yeah.
You know, I personally, I don't want to die of alcoholism
No.
in the middle of the woods, but you know, like, hey,
I think that, you know, the thing that kills a lot of people and was I think was very deadly to Kerouac is that he had a very sentimental and nostalgic memory of childhood.
Yeah.
I think that he felt that childhood had been a beautiful kind of magical experience.
I've noticed though that's a poison that's affecting a lot more people nowadays too.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there, and there's equally as many people who've had horrible childhoods, if not more. But there's a lot of people out there now who are hyper nostalgizing. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
They're very nostalgic about their childhoods because the world is becoming so frightening
Right.
and difficult and expensive to survive in. And as a result of that, a lot of people are like, what if we could just go back to being kids and eating cereal on Saturday mornings and, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Playing video games. And it's like, you know, that's really sad.
Yeah, well, and absolutely. And I think that I mean, in that way, I feel very fortunate, which is an odd thing to say about having a crappy childhood.
Yeah.
But like having a crappy childhood in a weird way, it was such a relief to get away from that, you
Yeah.
know, to outgrow that and to have my own life. That like I never, you know, I always kind of really enjoyed, you know, there was no hardships that were as bad as childhood, you know.
Okay, but like, you know, I don't think it's entirely that, because I had a pretty good childhood, and I still like a lot of my mental health stuff and stuff was not because my childhood was so good. It was just because like it was what it was, you know what I mean? Like, and I also still at this point in my life definitely don't want to go back to being a child.
Right, no.
But I think there are people who would if they had the
I
opportunity.
agree. I think there's people who definitely would. I know my mother would have. My mother she had a wonderful childhood. I mean, she grew up in colonial Africa.
Yeah.
You know, and the places she grew up with her family. I mean, the way she described them, it was truly amazing and magical. And so she never got over that. And her adult life, I think, was very miserable because she didn't feel that it was anything.
Yeah. But I also understand how it is to struggle with mental health. And I understand that when you're in a place where you don't feel supported, it's very hard for you to pull yourself out of the fire. And I've been very lucky in that I met my wife at a time when I was trying to restructure my life. And she's been like a big part of what's helped me. And that was largely because of luck. I mean, it was because I went out and I was doing things that mattered to me. And by the way, that's the best advice I can give anybody romantically. Like if you're lonely, just focus on your personal interests and goals and try to like be out in the world more, and maybe you'll meet somebody who is like that for you. But I can't promise anything. So it's hard for me to be like, come on guys, like, you're sad and you have mental health problems, but it's not that bad. It's like, I get it. Like not everybody is going to like meet the person of their dreams. Not everybody is going to like have luck, but I'm hoping that out there that everybody will at least get some little piece of luck sometimes that will make their life a little better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We may not all be entitled to a huge windfall of luck, but can we all at least be entitled to like just a little bit, just enough to make life bearable? And I worry that there are people out there that don't even get that.
Yeah. Well, I always feel sad about that because, obviously life is a lot easier if you can meet some kindred soul and to share it with you. And I feel like you and I got lucky that way. I mean, I met my wife the same way. I was out there, in the world, and I loved, weird art cinemas. And I met her one day when I was seeing some foreign films at a cinema. Now, the idea of two people in a place like that, it's a good setup for, a romance.
No, I know. Anyway, I don't know. The point is, life is hard. Try to find ways to make it bearable.
Yes.
And try to, in the new year and in the new world we live in now, it's all the more important that you find the little things that make life bearable.
Exactly.
Like my smoking.
Yes, your smoking of pork chops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta find your own pork chop smoking.
That's right. And I'm cultivating this beard, and
I've got this sexy beard and hat.
That's right.
And I am very successful.
I'm trying to cultivate my resemblance to Burl Ives. Frosty the snowman was a jolly, happy soul.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
May all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. May all acquaintance be forgot something about Old Lang Syne. Who's Old Lang Syne?
Old Lang Syne.
Is that just, I think that, doesn't that in like Irish just mean like old time's sake or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's weird you say that because I've never quite known.
It sounds like Gaelic to me.
Yeah.
So it's probably something in Gaelic.
Yeah, probably.
All right. See you on another time.
My broken time, my story's over. I said my lines, I said my lines.